Hello there, my dear loving souls. Welcome back to this channel and to this desk where we talk about universal laws and practicing love and all the good jazz. Look, today's video is going to be all about practicing love using your heart. Now, I know it might sound a little bit unclear at this point in time, but definitely in part one, as always, I will delve into a little bit about the facts and the universal laws that I apply. What is it that I really want to talk about? Part two will be about application of the universal laws that we will discuss in part one, and part three will be all about us getting some messages from the spirit world, from our angels and archangels and everybody else who's presiding over this topic here today. Now, as always, grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea for the three parts. I'm going to kick off the timer. And yeah, let's go. And I mean, the first thing I want to say is, apologies in advance for not coming up with any content over the last, I think, week or two. I've been under the weather. I've been sick with the flu, second time in like 2 or 3 months. And I realized that it was just time for me to take some time out. I really need to rest, so I am feeling much better. But please be mindful that sometimes I might just do a little cough or my voice might go a little bit haywire, so apologies for that in advance. Alrighty, so the topic of practicing love and using your own heart. Why did I decide to talk about this? Well, on this channel, I like to talk about practicing love and using sort of the Holy Trinity of love framework, which is thinking love, speaking love, and doing love, and we will definitely jump into that in part two. But the more I thought about this, I just realized that, well, practicing love, that emotion or that wonderful power, that powerful energy of love is typically represented with the organ of heart, right? We're probably more instinctively, we think of the heart as the organ when it comes to actual concept of love and loving. And so the more people, I think, can use their heart when it comes to their thoughts, their words, and their actions, then perhaps as a result of that, they will get in tune into more ways as to how they can actually practice love on their daily basis. And something I've said many times in my video series before is that I'm a big believer is that if you practice more love on a daily basis, then you're likely to receive more love back in due course. And one way, perhaps, of getting us to think a little bit more, speak more love, or do more love is by placing our consciousness and placing our attention into using our heart as an organ. We're very good, I think, or have done a lot of practice in our life to use our mind, think a lot, to use our mind to come up with new ideas, to communicate with one another. But I think there's a definite benefit to use, all of our organs to our advantage, right? They're there by design for a really good reason. But since we're talking about practicing love, well, let's use our heart then a little bit more. And so this video series will be all about some practical tips as well as to how we go about doing that. Now, let's just jump into the universal laws that have come to my mind when I was thinking a little bit about this subject matter. And the first one is the physical body element of it, right? So when we incarnate on this lovely school of planet Earth, we've got the hardware, which is our physical body that we use in order to be able to walk through this lifetime. And as I mentioned before, I am a big believer that every single organ of our physical body is there by design. It has value. Every single organ is there for a really good reason for us. And one of them is obviously our heart, hence the topic. And as you probably know, its main function of the heart, it's a muscle. Inherently, it's a muscle at the center of our circulation system, and its function is to really, there are multiple functions, but the core main one is to pump blood around our body. And as a result of that, blood has actually like a bit of a dual role, which creates ultimate balance for our physical body. The one element of that is carrying oxygenated blood all around our body, and as a result the cells get to experience the oxygen to make sure that they're still living and functioning properly and alive. And the other side of that phenomenon is to carry away the waste, right? So carry away the carbon dioxide, carry away any waste products, and the heart is then directs them to the relevant other parts of our body in order to appropriately get rid of the waste products or turn the carbon dioxide, send it to our lungs, release it, right, so that more oxygen can come through, and it just happens and happens and happens on, like every single time your heart beats, it literally circulates blood around your body. So quite a core function to keep us alive, right? Now, the other thing I mentioned was it's not just about the oxygen, there's a lot of nutrients and hormones and other bits and bobs that are carried by the blood around our body, that are circulated around the body with every single heartbeat. So very, very important. Now, the second universal law I want to talk about is, if you recall, I'm a big believer that the hardware is the body, but there's the software, which is the spirit that we actually inherently are. That's what makes us unique. In other words, another spirit in this physical body might not be interacting or communicating the way I am doing it. So the fact that I am the way I am is because of my spirit, the software that is inhabiting this physical body. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, in order to connect the hardware with the software, I do believe that our heart is that actual bridge, the bridge between the physical body and the spiritual body. And it is actually quite interesting, I think, in my opinion, the fact that heart is kind of centrally placed. Sort of, if you look at a human body, plus and minus physical dimensions, right? But it's actually, it feels like it's the core, the center of the circulation system, and it's kind of the core central part of our physical body. And I think that makes sense. It's the bridge. I mean, because it's so central and so focal. For me, it just screams it must be a bridge. And the thing that comes to mind for me is, when I think about that core as well, is actually the chakras that are energy focal points. And the heart chakra in particular is actually the color green, for some of you who might not be aware of it. And it represents elements or aspects of our life, such as love, compassion, passions, that drive or ambition, but from the sense of love, when you just want to be in the flow of doing something with passion, as well as relationships, right? That makes sense when it comes to love. And this is the third universal law that I wanted to kind of emphasize, is really the power of love, that super energy in our world. And obviously the heart element, or the organ of heart, which is the bridge between the physical body and the spiritual body, and is there because I do believe that our spirits are energy, and inherently all energy is actually love, the super energy force. Love and light as well, light are synonymous, even though it's really hard to comprehend it with our mind. How can one and the same thing be two different things? Or that's how we categorize it in our mind. But I think intuitively that those things are actually one and the same. Energy, fundamentally, what we're made up of is love and light, and they're one and the same. And hence it makes sense that if the heart is the bridge between the spiritual body and the physical body, then that's where the power of love emanates, or you know what I mean, it comes out, it comes through our heart. So with that in mind, physical body, bridge between the physical body and spiritual body, through the organ of heart, and the power of love, compassion, relationships, and passions. Let's just jump into part 3, the application of these universal laws and how we can practice a bit more love on a daily basis through some practical tips. Click on the link down below, my team, for part 2, and I will see you shortly in part 2. Click on the link down below.